Hello and welcome back to Podcast for the Recently Deceased, episode 7 of season
Seven
3. I am one of your hosts, Rodney Godek. With me, as always,
is your other host, Nate Roberts.
my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I
Yeah? You have
yeah,
trepidation?
I'm telling you, it's the slog of 2023 as
Yeah.
we just got to keep moving forward. It's
hmm
gonna get better
You have to
eventually,
proceed.
right?
You
It's
got to
got
keep
to get
going. Yep.
it's,
You got to keep
this
pushing through.
this shit swamp that we're wading through has got to end somewhere.
Yes.
We'll
Well,
find an
without
embankment.
further ado, enough teasing here. Okay.
Yeah.
Tonight, we will be featuring the newest of the experimental horror films to come since Skinamarink. The Outwaters, written and directed by Robbie Banfitch, starring Robbie Banfitch, Angela Basilis, Scott Schimmel, and Michelle May. Four travelers encounter menacing phenomena while camping in a remote stretch of the Mojave Desert. So, folks, The Outwaters is, I mentioned experimental. It is experimental, but The Outwaters, as you will find out when you begin watching The Outwaters, if you so choose, yeah, I leave it up to you to make the decision as to whether or not you want to watch it, and you figure that out for yourself. Make a decision and do it. The Outwaters says, hey, we are a found footage movie. It starts with title cards, documentary style. I think it's like county police departments or sheriff's office has this footage that was recovered last February 2022. And the footage was dated. It was found via data cards, memory cards, three of them, card 1, 2, and 3, of which they will play sequentially, chronologically, the events that were captured on these cards, unedited, adulterated,
Unaltered.
unaltered. Adultered is a
Well,
different word.
hopefully they were also unadulterated.
Well, yeah, maybe, hopefully not. There's definitely some adultery going on, or was there not? No, there wasn't.
There
Um,
wasn't.
it's presenting all of that chronologically by the sheriff's department as if we're just here to present the facts. The stories are real. The names have changed. Whatever, bullshit. They show the stills of the characters. They disappeared 2017 in February. Last seen, same day. All four headshots. Here's the cards. Card 1 and go. And what we'll be watching is the story of four 20 somethings, I would say, right?
Yeah, sure.
A would be filmmaker, videographer, a would be singer songwriter, a brother, sort of like a ne'er do well, free spirit brother that's kind of just there along for the ride. Sort of like been there, done that type guy, but also estranged from family. What does that mean? I don't know. Guess what? You'll never know. And then makeup check. So it's all the the ingredients to what could be a masterfully made found footage movie. Think Blair Witch. Think Willow Creek. Uh, there are several found footage movies that exist that do this kind of setup. Think, we'll even say Deadstream now. I'll say Deadstream. And I'll
Yeah.
even say Dashcam a little bit. Premise, characters, found footage, and go. And so, Nate, that's what you're given. Where does the Outwaters take you?
So, you get your three tapes, right? So you kind of have like your three act setup kind of built in, and that was the first thing I
Uh
thought
huh.
when there was like three tapes. I'm like, oh, well, that's convenient. I bet. I wonder if there's
Yes,
a three act structure,
exactly agree.
and
Also
and
thought that.
and that's exactly what they did. Which I don't know if that was good or bad, but it was what it was. Um, so what do
Sure.
we get? Act one. Well, what's in Act one? Let's learn about all these characters. In some pretty okay, scenes. We get the brothers kind of just talking. We get like,
Oh, I think the setup is wonderful.
oh yeah,
I love
yeah.
the
I
setup.
I honestly like tape one was pretty good. Like I
Yeah,
was,
this is where some films that are found footage fall short. They don't do the background to why you should give a shit about the
Right.
characters. The
Exactly.
shots look natural. It seems to jump back and forth from like, cuts to this scene or that scene. And I will even throw in maybe Cloverfield, although I'm not a big fan of Cloverfield. I still think it follows and honors the found footage element faithfully, I think. Pretty sure it does. It does the setup wonderfully.
I think Cloverfield was one of those times where I never thought to myself, why haven't they turned the camera off?
Right. But
Which
okay, so but that's the thing. Like, there's a possible hindrance with why things are being recorded, and so if you're trying to be true to found footage, and to make you care about characters, you have to do a good bit of legwork with how you
right.
set that up. And I think Outwaters, like you were just saying,
Yeah.
it's
They
doing a great job at this.
they did a great job. It starts off with one of the brothers' birthdays, and mom made me promise to record this, and okay, all right, so this is why we're getting a little, getting a little
Yeah,
backstory. Um, and we see the girl, and she's got an amazing voice.
she is wonderful. Yeah,
She's a great singer, and then
Michelle May.
we get like a was it like a video chat with the hairdresser and makeup artist from New
Yeah,
Jersey?
where who he seems like he was a friend of,
Yeah,
like
friends
that
from
they
like
had known
college
before.
or
Yeah,
something. Yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah.
Angela Bassett's character, Ange Bacuzzi.
Yeah, and we get like a nice
I really did love Ange, to be
yeah,
honest.
she was great, and she was very funny. Like it was, and all the dialogue seemed very natural. The acting was good. Yeah,
Mm.
I was really into the first. Well, it was fine.
No,
Um,
no, yeah, I know.
yeah,
There's a detail I want to get in that's kind of like funny, but go on.
yeah. The first 30 minutes was very good, very well done.
Hmm.
And then then we get into Act Two, and all right, we're in the desert, and we're shooting a music video, and we're having fun. We're just kids in the desert having fun. And
Hmm.
honestly, like we're still jiving. Like this movie's like, okay, so where's it gonna go from here? We get to Act Three, and we'll talk about that later.
You're
Uh,
jumping. The Act Two, the wrinkle is introduced. The menacing phenomena that we were promised in the log line from the IMDb's. There's menacing phenomena that is occurring at night whenever they're out here shooting these videos. Weird electronic, but also thunderous type booms are occurring. They sound almost like man-made, but they do sound naturalistic. But there's no one out here, and there's no real lightning that they can see necessarily. They don't know what it is. You hear coyotes yipping, all the other nature sounds, but they don't know what to make of this. It's kind of odd, but nothing else really happens. But and like all found footage movies in this kind of a theme do, there's a one night of events unexplained, and then maybe some stuff happens during the day that gives you more unease. In this instance, there's a shot of a hatchet buried in the ground. You're like, well, that's weird. And then there's a second night of events, and usually this is when things start to go a bit crazy. And I think that's when it does occur. But that's the buildup. Like, you hear stuff, you don't know what to think of stuff, but you're thinking you could think of anything. It's in the dark, right, Nate? Like you could
yeah,
think aliens, monsters, hills have eyes, mutant freaks out here,
yeah.
a creature feature, aliens. It could be anything. It could be so many things. It literally, the sky is the limit. So this was, I want to say, right at the hour mark.
Yeah.
They get the second evening's visuals occur, and this is where shit goes down.
Shit goes
And I
down.
will say, this was a beautifully tense moment. I was still very fearful and very in the movie up to this point. Were you?
Yes, I was. This is unfortunately like the end of the movie for me.
Yes. Yes. Everything has been great. They're building, like I mentioned, the hatchet. Okay, right? It's dark.
Yeah.
Robbie's character is sort of wants to like go out and keep exploring with these booms, and he's recording because he's a nerd. He's got all the tech. He's got sound equipment. He's got video equipment. He wants to capture everything. He's just wants to capture, record. Makes sense. It like what has to inform why footage is is being recorded, and then it leads to this still while he's exploring. There's light coming from whether it's the nearby city or just the dawn that will be coming soon. There's the horizon is illuminated very, very subtly, enough so that you can see the hillside in shadow. and then the illumination. And it pans, and all of a sudden, there's just a figure, a silhouette of a man shape with a hatchet, the hatchet that we saw. And
Right.
it's just he's holding it down to his side. And that's all you see. And it's an extremely terrifying moment right then because you
Right.
don't know. And it pauses, and he's like, hello, hello, like that's terrifying. His like
Yeah.
searching to try to comprehend what's happening, but also try to calm down what's happening. But there's a weapon, uh, and it's extremely tense. And then there's movement, and you don't see it, and it cuts, and then there's like a shink type thud and noise as well, and you're led to believe, okay, he got hit with that, and now, like you said, chaos ensues, and along with chaos, the whole element of what a found footage film is begins to unravel
Yes.
to such an extent that you can no longer call this a found footage film.
Yes. And we still have 40 minutes left. So we get
40 minutes left, dude. This is
40
an hour in. And it's like, oh
minutes.
my God, you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Why am I now watching 40 minutes of you not caring? You're now
Yeah.
making an actual movie, not a found footage.
Yeah. So it's literally 40 minutes of nonsensical uh, screaming sounds,
Experimental, bro.
snake-like
It's Skinnamarink.
creatures.
This
He's
is and
teleporting all over the place. There's time jumps. He time jumps back to where the four of them are. He sees the four of them walking through the desert.
yeah.
I mean, do we at this point? There's no second conversation, right? So we can just go all the way through it, right?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. So
This is it. We're in
this
it.
is yeah,
Yeah.
we're in it. Like so he time jumps to the hatchet and now you're like, "Oh, it was him that killed all his friends cuz he's still covered in blood for no reason and every once in a while the screen flashes and he's refreshed with new blood coverings and these squealing eel-like
Yeah, like you mentioned Slither to me earlier in conversation. Like it's like, yeah, slithery type thing. It's
yeah.
like the Night of the Creeps leeches that are in that movie. It's just,
Yeah.
but they're screaming. This is like it's like the goats from the Thor movie, but with a little snake creature in the middle of nowhere. And so you just like it's just everything is there. The
Yeah.
kitchen sink and everything else is here to just thrown and oppress your eyeballs and your mind
And
because they don't know what they want to do or what
yeah.
they want to say. So we're just going to say it all and do it all.
And it takes forever. It takes forever
Yeah.
to get to the
It's a
reveal.
long 40, 50
Yeah,
minutes.
to get to the reveal that it was him the whole time. And then okay, so when the chaos ensued earlier, we didn't see anything. It was all blackness because he was more or less a victim in that first attack.
Well, but
Now,
that's the thing also too. Like Nate, he cowers, and it's like if you were on his side as being like you feel for him, his friends are being murdered.
yeah,
Presumably, you
yeah,
hear the screams. The movie starts. I'll also note with the audio tape of the call of these screams.
right.
I'm sorry, I'm making you tired.
No, it's okay.
The I'll blame Robbie Banfitch.
It's yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so
It's his fault. It's truly his fault.
he gets hit, and he's like, oh, this it's raining, my head is raining. It's like, okay, yeah, we concussed, whatever. But he hides, Nate, and
Yeah,
he doesn't want anyone to know where he's at. He comes across Ange, he runs from Ange, and the bad guy gets Ange and brutally murders Ange. One is led to believe. You don't know because it is, like you said, all darkness. There is one flashlight, and it sometimes looks at something that you can tell what you're looking
oh
at, but most of the
god.
time you can't. This is worse than Skinnamarink as far as what you're actually looking at in some ways.
The
It's
the
so
the
frustrating.
targeted flashlight was probably the worst part. Like, give me the floodlight, give me the spotlight, give me some.
Sure.
But this time, like, you get a whole thing of darkness, and this tiny little
And a little
dot
pin light. Yeah.
is just moving around. Okay, sure, it's pretty effective for seeing less. If you want to.
Yeah, it's creepy. It has a mood, but you can't tease me that long
Right.
uh without rewarding me. with something exciting or interesting. And this movie doesn't do that. And and that's the thing, like it it no longer cares about the premise of being a found footage. It's disingenuous now. It's
Yeah.
not to be trusted. I
There's
can't trust it as a movie.
there's no
You don't get to
reason.
do this now.
Yeah, no reason for that
There's
camera to be on at this point.
and like you said, there's time jumps. There's it's This is all techniques that are done in film editing. And what I was being told I was watching was a sheriff's department's like just playing video clips. So here's the only thing that you could believe, and maybe this is what they want to hang their hat on, is that somehow in the phenomena, as they call it, that exists in the Mojave Desert in this world, this entity or this thing does stuff to the data cards of video cameras that it splices and edits sound and visuals in such a way that it isn't the actual camera lens picking this up. It's what is in the mind or the psyche of the character holding the camera. That is the only logical. And sidebar, I get movies, logical narratives making sense. It doesn't have to. But you
Right.
said found footage. There's rules, motherfucker. You need
Right.
to follow those rules. You don't get to do shit. You don't get to make an art experimental movie that doesn't follow the found footage rules. You don't get to show up in your mother's house. You don't get to have your brother in a pool of blood behind an airplane window. You don't get to do all of that. You don't get to go through a flood deluge of water to then come out. You don't get to time jump and see you walking as if you're Jensen Benson and Aaron Moorhead making something in the dirt, who, by the way, you will never get anywhere near touching. They're so much beyond your
It's so funny.
capabilities.
It's so funny you said that. I thought of them while I was watching this movie. I was like, this is like if something in the dirt was like really, really bad. I was
Yeah,
like,
this
I
is a
was like,
fan. Yeah, you like them. And look, I hate hating movies,
yeah,
but it's not cool to make a movie that is trying to capitalize as found footage, trying to capitalize off. You're standing on the shoulders of giants, and you're doing a disservice to the genre, and you're kind of cheaply sliding in there and getting eyeballs for a certain thing that I don't
yeah,
think you is deserving. It
yeah.
seems disingenuous
You
at
stop.
best.
Yeah, you're acting like InGen, and we all know how that movie ended. So
Jurassic Park.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
It's all of Goldblum's dialogue from that movie. It's like you stood on the shoulders of geniuses, and you took the next step.
And you put a label on it, and you're selling it, and here you go.
you you didn't earn the knowledge for yourself, and so you don't have responsibility for
Oh, oh, oh,
it.
yeah. You ever,
uh,
you know what chaos theory is?
all
Um,
right.
yeah, this raindrop would have rolled off the other side of my palm and into the toilet paper as I wiped my ass with it because it sucked. This movie infuriated me. I rated The Outwaters a 2 out of 10.
I also gave it a 2 out of 10, and my quote for this movie is that it's twice as good as Skinamarink.
Twice as good. You are not lying. You're telling no tales out of school with
That's
that
right.
rating. It's so frustrating, dude. Like in here, it culminates uh, and what I can only assume, and I feel like I need to address this because, like, here's the thing: so many people. This is not the same kind of a darling that Skinamarink was. Twitter, film Twitter loves Skinamarink. Film Twitter loves The Outwaters. So many people think that this is like their favorite film, and I'm very confused about that. I don't know what to think about that, but it's like it's trying to do so much, and I don't really know what they wanted to achieve. Is it chaos for chaos sake? Is it just over the top experimental to just have fun with visuals? That could all be well and good. Here's the thing. I'll give Skinamarink credit. It knew what it wanted to do and it did it the whole time. I hated everything about what it was doing, but it was true to itself. And the Outwaters is not. The
Right.
Outwaters is a wolf in sheep's clothing for an hour, and it says, "Hey, guess what? You found footage, fuck faces. fuck you. I'm
Hmm.
doing weird shit now and I don't give a shit. And it's such a slap in the face with a severed penis. By the end of the movie, I would only have to assume, to me, this is me projecting, Nate. I interpret the how do I want your interpretation on the end of the movie. I
Okay.
interpret the end of the movie. Spoiler alert for any of you. Uh,
They're not gonna
Robbie's
watch it.
character is been beaten and bloodied. He's gone through torture. He's crazy, but he's still trudging along, still holding that camera. You know that he's a goddamn wonderful man for keeping that record button on. And I for at least the time being until he's not a man. And this poor man conducts his own penectomy and severs his penis from his body in what I have to assume is an act of defiance or just acceptance of the fact that he has no need for that penis anymore. You would be led to assume in a movie like this, if you're following traditional horror tropes, this character there should be like an interest, a sexual interest or desire with the character, and you kind of see that like with the female singer. It's like, whoa, he's probably pining for her. He seems like, but maybe it's just innocuous friendship, and maybe ultimately this act at the end of the movie is the final conclusion. Like, yes, it's just there was no sexual tension. He has no need for this penis. Ange is a friend. His brother's his brother. He's not with someone, so he has no need for this vestige anymore, and he cuts it off. Which also, by the way, he cuts it off with I think shark tooth, maybe like a fossil shark tooth. I think that's what it
Yeah,
looks like.
some kind of weird tooth that he found in the desert.
And it's like, and that's the end. He reaches to the sky and he's like, "Look, mom, I did it. I cut off my dick." And so it's like that's such a visual to just put at the end of the movie. Like, there's got to be something there. Like, what
Yeah,
is it? Like, I'm reaching here. Is this a gender reassignment that he wanted? What is it? I don't know. And you're not helping me. And it's kind of screwed up. You don't get to just not I don't know. Why is that there? Why do you need to do that? Why was that important? Why is that the
yeah.
final note of the movie?
Was it the final note, or did he cut his stomach and was walking around with the intestines
Yeah,
out for a
he
little
cut his
while?
stomach right after it, right beforehand, and
Yeah, and
his
he's
intestines
wandering
are also
around.
coming
Yeah.
out.
So I don't know. It just like self mutilation, genital mutilation being a big side effect of just like insanity. I think honestly that's just what he was rolling with. Like this guy has a psychotic break and kills his friends, and then he just goes crazy all alone in the desert. And that's all you're experiencing, from his point of view, through the found footage mechanic. And it might be interesting to some people, but it was very not interesting and boring to me. In fact, I would go so far as to say, um, and I think you might even agree, as much as you're
Ooh.
going to hate the source material, that these guys could learn a thing or two from the scary at the 61st filmmaking crew. They could learn a thing or two about story.
Sure. I mean, that was a really bad story, but you're right. I mean, it at least had a three-act structure that had a narrative,
Yeah.
and it was something you could follow. That at least
Well,
the whole
and and I
inclusion of Epstein as the whole impetus for their movie
yeah.
is just asinine. Like, you
I
don't have to do that.
yeah,
So
but I
stupid.
also feel like Scary was like a student film next level. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and this felt the exact same way. Like, oh, you had a cool idea for your student film, and maybe like a 15-minute short version of this what was your senior project. Um, and now you're out of school and you've got some credit cards and you're gonna go make it in the desert with your friends as a feature. That's
From what I gathered, this was also a $15,000 movie.
right.
And I was this in the theaters. This was in the theaters for a brief period of time, and I don't know what it grossed at the box office. I don't know if I have any data on that, to be honest. But it hit Screambox pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Screambox, obviously, from the excellently edited and bloody disgusting team, just
Uh,
A level work coming out of that publication. Gods amongst men. at Bloody Disgusting. Just the best horror coverage and interesting articles and good opinions. Really cool people, totally not biased or boring. Uh, they're who you want to surround yourselves with.
Yeah,
So, shout out to the whole Screenbox team over there, killing it with great hits like the Outwaters that you can now watch streaming.
yeah. I subscribe to Shudder and Screenbox, and every time I scroll through Screenbox, I'm like, why am I paying for this? There's like zero watchable films on
Yeah,
Screenbox.
there was a couple. What? So Screenbox people got Screenbox because they wanted to see Terrifier
Yeah,
for whatever
yeah.
reason.
Well, I got
Terrifier
it. I
2.
got I got it before that to watch Pussy something.
Pussy Cake.
Pussy Cake. Yeah, that was a good one.
So they've got Homebound. I'd be interested in watching Homebound. They got Taking of Deborah Logan, a far superior found footage-ish movie. Hell House LLC is also worth watching. They do have Audition. I will say their J horror section.
Audition, sure.
That would be fun to watch. But I'm looking through real quick, and yeah, there's not a whole lot outside of that. They all say, "Oh, well, we got a couple documentaries that are cool." That's fair. Documentaries are fun, but you got to have actual content too. Can't just be docu content. You have Ben, you don't have Willard. Like, come on, guys, this is kind of lame. Elvira's lame ass is up all up on their page. Sorry, Elvira, but you're 2000 and late. Look, this has been the Outwaters. I landed at a 2. Nate, also a 2. Twice as good as Skinamarink. You can take that to the bank.
That's right.
Uh, and yeah, it's now streaming on Screenbox. So for episode 7
7.
of the podcast for the recently deceased, I've been Rodney Godak.
And I've been Nate Roberts.